Theef. I assume it's supposed to be Thief. Thief.
Insert your own Dan Quayle joke here. Lousy spelling aside, what do you think it refers to? Who's the thief?
Well, that's certainly one question. I've got many.
Mulder, why are we here?
To be fair, I might have used the words, Mulder, how is this an X-file?
You see that, Scully? You always keep me guessing.
Hello and welcome to episode 173 of Most Unwanted, an X-Files podcast. I can't speak already. 10 seconds
episodes in.
Yeah.
170, we've not perfected it.
yeah. I mean, we'll never perfect it. It's always working. It's always a work in progress. You know.
I feel like if we perfected it, then we just have to stop. Like, you know what I mean? Like, what are we striving for then? Like, it's got to be like working towards something.
Maybe the final episode will be the perfect episode, and then we go, anyway, that's the end of this now. We're not doing anymore. Unlikely.
This was perfect. A perfect episode.
I am Luke, and I'm joined. See, we're starting again. Joined by Chex. How you doing, Chex?
I'm good, thank you very much. Yeah, I'm good. Not a lot to report, to be honest. Been very busy planning for the trip. So it's been tough to actually find time to even record, really, hasn't it?
Yeah, we sort of had a lot of setbacks of trying to record. We aim to get a few more in, but if it's just time between the pair of us has just been like eating away lately. Just
life
real
just
life
gets in the way.
Yeah.
Gets in the. And on that note, if anyone out there wants to pay us a full-time wage to record this podcast, please get in touch to @MostUnwantedPod on Twitter.
We will sell out. I'll sponsor anything.
I will be a full-on sellout.
Yeah.
I'll change the entire dynamics of the show. You're not a big fan of Luke? We'll get rid.
As long as I still get paid, I don't mind. But yeah, no, it's the same with me. Really, not really. Nothing to report as going on. It's one of those where I think we could probably just get straight into this episode because I'm interested to see your opinion, hear your opinion on this. Really, it's an interesting episode. So this episode, titled Thief, was the 14th episode of season 7. It was directed by Kim Manners, written by Vince Gilligan, John Shaban, and Frank Spotnitz. So we had a bit of a crew effort on this writing team.
An all-star crew.
Oh, well, yeah, exactly. And the original air date was March the 12th, 2000. So yeah, we'll just get straight into it. We start and we see we get this establishing shot of Marin County, California. And we find out this is the home of Dr. Robert Welder, is it? Or Wider? I'm not I've written Welder, but I think it's Wider.
Yeah, I'm not sure, to be honest.
Yeah. They don't really bring it up other than
the doc.
The doc, yeah. I just call him Dr. Rob. Dr. Robert, like the Beatles song, whichever. Weeder, that's it, yeah. And we see this nice, happy family scene where I just wrote down Robert won the best doctor ever in history award because that's the way they kind of portrayed it. It was like, wow, golly, you are the best at being a doctor. And he's like, thank you very much. Nothing could go wrong tonight.
It's very soap opera-y, this whole scene. And it's weird that like a lot of the interactions feel a little bit false. Like it just doesn't, you know what I mean? Like it's not. I was watching the intro of this, going, "This isn't how human beings speak."
Do you know? It reminded me a lot of Twin Peaks, like with the music and everything. It's like this wholesome scene that you know is somehow wrong, or something is going to go disastrously wrong for them.
Yeah, very much the calm before the storm, isn't it?
Yeah. And yeah, we see them. They're taking a picture of this award. The entire family's there, including Mrs. Dr. Robert Weider's dad. We find it's called Irving Thalbro. He's also a doctor. And they basically say you can stay the night. You know, you might as well stay here now. There's no point getting home or whatever. So he goes to the guest bedroom, opens the bed, and we see this like dirt patch in the shape of like, well, it's like a human shape basically.
Yeah.
And then we get this quite good jump scare, I thought, and this kind of sets the tone for the rest of the episode. It's got this kind of horror vibe to it, or a lot more than usual. And yeah, we see this creepy looking guy behind him as we cut away. The motion sensor alarm goes off, and Dr. Rob goes to take a peek at what's going on. Funnily enough, doesn't take a bat. I mean, if I was in a fancy house like that and my motion sensor was going off, instantly alarm bells would be going off, thinking somebody's going to try and attack us here.
Well, it's a confusing one because he does say that like the alarms haven't been tripped. That they can sense someone in the house, but like none of the doors or windows have been opened. So I think it's a little bit of confusion on their part.
But maybe I'm on high alert because I'm watching the X-Files, whereas for him, he probably has to do this for moths all the time.
And he's on top of the world because he's the best doctor, and like what could happen to the best doctor in the world?
He's the best doctor, and nothing will ever go wrong in his life.
Real side note, I completely forgot to check this out. You know I don't know what her name is, but his wife, Dr. Robert's wife. Don't you think she sounded exactly like Gillian Anderson?
Yeah, she had that kind of same kind of voice. Yeah,
I meant to check to see whether they were related at all, the actresses.
And I'm not sure actually. Yeah. I couldn't find, to be honest. Like, there's very few notes about the casting on this. Like, there was a few like they were in things around the time, like the Doctor was in Millennium and stuff like that. I find like once they've been in one, they'll probably end up in the other.
It would have definitely have been mentioned in the notes if it was her sister. But like, I couldn't believe like how much she sounded like Scully. Like, it was uncanny to me. I don't know. Maybe it was just me putting on it, but it just sounded so like her.
I didn't notice it at the time, but yeah, like it did. I guess they had the same similar kind of accent. But then again, you don't see her a lot, so I didn't really. But anyway, so he goes down to investigate what this was, and he finds Irvin hanging from the sort of ceiling from a wire, and he's also had his throat cut. And when we see the lights go on, or I don't know if lights go on, or there's thunder, I can't remember what it is, but it's lit up, and we see the word Theef, spelled Theeef, painted in blood on the wall. So there we go. Straight away, we get the episode title.
Yeah.
And that's the intro. What did you think of this?
I thought it was an interesting start. I thought, like I said, I thought it was a little bit cheesy, the beginning interactions, and I was like, are we going to be in for? But I think it kind of worked because it kind of, like you alluded to, like the horror vibes kind of works in that sense of like, you get this at the beginning of like the cheesy horror films where it's like everything's greater than great, nothing could go wrong tonight. It's that sort of like the conversational sort of the way they're talking, and so actually I didn't mind it in retrospect. I thought this was really interesting. I was looking forward to seeing what was going on.
It's just we haven't had like an out and out like horror-y kind of episode in quite a long time, I think, for X-Files. Like usually we have quite light-hearted or jokey episodes and stuff like that, or they're conspiracy based or something like that. So to have one that's so like serious, really, like there's a few cracks from Mulder here and there like throughout the episode, but I'd say it's mainly a straight sort of like thriller horror kind of story.
Yeah, I'd say so.
The next day, we see Mulder and Scully are investigating with the rest of the police there, and they see this sort of writing on the wall. They think that, as most people would, that it's somebody who's misspelt thief or something along those lines. They also note that, Scully thinks that the Doctor committed suicide himself. And wrote the blood on the wall himself, but Mulder discredits that and says it's not his blood. He couldn't have done this. And they sort of get to the point of, why is this an X-File? And Mulder eventually shows that there's a graveyard dirt in the bed, which is sort of a hint that this is something to do with a hex or hexcraft, as he calls it, because this is like a powerful magic component, which Scully straight away is like, okay.
Well, I thought this was an interesting part, and it's not something I feel like I got a good grasp of, so I wanted to discuss it with you.
Mm-hmm.
I felt like they really pushed this. At first, I thought it was flirty, maybe, and I'm not sure, but they really pushed this idea of Scully surprising Mulder throughout the episode.
That quote just keeps coming back, doesn't it?
Back and back and back, and it's always with regards to whether like Mulder predicting her actions and then her sort of like going a different way with it, whether that's like predicting she'll be skeptical and then she turns out to believe it or give credence to some of the crazier theories. I'm not sure whether I really picked up on like a more meaningful meaning, I suppose, to that, but it did feel like there was more to it and I just couldn't grasp it, or maybe it's, I don't know.
Yeah, I didn't get any bigger meaning to it other than the fact that this is kind of like showcasing that Scully is a lot more open to other ideas these days. She's still always going to discredit what she thinks is clearly ludicrous or find like a scientific reason for it, which, to be honest, in this episode there's a lot of scientific basis that comes from her actually looking into that. So but yeah, I wonder if it's just there to show that they are evolving as characters, maybe. Whether it had a deeper meaning, I'm not sure. I didn't detect anything, but
that feels like the story they've been telling with Scully all season. This season, to be honest. So maybe it is just sort of like stamping it in there that this is what we're doing.
Yeah. So they interview the family, and they're all upset. And Dr. Robert is sort of saying that when he's asked, does he have any enemies? Basically, he's completely clueless. He doesn't know anybody who he could have upset that could have been targeting them with this. I wrote a note there. Do you have any enemies? You don't have to say who they are, obviously.
Do I have an enemy?
I don't think I do. Not that I'm aware of, anyway.
Yeah, no, I don't think so. Yeah, maybe I should get an enemy.
We should,
having an enemy. I bet you having an enemy makes your life more exciting. Like, you're always looking over your shoulder. You always got to sort of case. Like, yeah. Like, I don't have that. I leave the house and I'm safe, and that's not a good feeling. I need more excitement. So
maybe we should pick a big enemy. Like, we should go after, like, I don't know, like
Elon Musk.
Yeah, we should take down Elon Musk.
Yeah, maybe. I mean, we've tried it. We tried to make an enemy of Chris Carter, didn't we? And
we did.
It was very one-sided.
It's less enemy, more petty, I think, at that point.
Yeah. Well, I think the enemies we've made over the course of this podcast is Chris Carter
and our fans,
our fans for sure, and Orson's lawyers.
They did. They weren't happy. They weren't happy.
We're currently recording this podcast via 2 tin cans connected by string.
yeah, they've taken everything. I don't have a house anymore. We did say that they were ruthless, but we didn't realize. Anyway, we see we make this cut now from, and I quite like this actually, of like this thematic sort of thing throughout the episode, is we cut from the Doctor's house, which is this like modern, stylish, ultra like clean cut sort of house, to the most dingy, rundown sort of apartment building, I think it is. Like the floors are like brown carpet. Everything's just like this grim brown color.
Yeah, it's like mold on the walls and stuff like that. It very much like the first opening shot is her cleaning it, and I just thought to myself, why would you bother?
Why bother?
Yeah. It's very dingy and
especially what Petey's doing in the other room. But yeah, as you mentioned, we see this woman cleaning up the apartment, and she goes past a door and smells something that she thinks is cooking. She knocks on the door, and we see the guy from earlier, the guy who gave us the jump scare. We find out later that his name is Oral Petey. and he's less than inviting. He's sort of got the door sort of not on a chain, but like just barely open, and he does offer to help her back with some medicine that he can create for her, because he said he's not cooking; he's cooking up medicine essentially.
Yeah.
Which, I mean, after watching Breaking Bad, anybody who said that, it'd be on my sort of watch list.
Well, I mean, if you're cooking in your bedroom, like at this point, you know what I mean? Like it's a weird vibe.
We see inside his flat when he shuts the door. There's all these like I thought they were voodoo dolls at first, but we find out later they're called poppets. Which
this whole episode gives you like me being completely ignorant to like any other sort of depictions of it. I just the voodoo type of sort of genre stood out to me throughout. But basically, it's basically the same thing. It's just and again, this is something I didn't know, but it's apparently very similar to a lot of legends across other different cultures. Like they mention like
Celtic, he mentioned
Celtic, Eastern European, stuff like that, and so which I've never heard of myself. I always attribute it all to like voodoo culture, so that was actually quite an interesting take. But it is essentially the same thing.
I quite like this sort of. I mean, as we'll go into it more as the episode goes on, but this like folk magic kind of sort of story that they're telling. Again, I did see in some of the reviews people said it was cliche, and I can see where they're coming from. But I don't tend to watch that many things that have this as kind of like the story. So I was quite interested by it all, really. Like this kind of like curse magic that he's putting on people and stuff like that. I thought it was interesting.
I mean, this is probably giving away sort of what I thought of the overall episode. I actually quite liked the way they did it, in the sense of you had this sort of what is essentially a voodoo story. But it felt like the death sequences and the family and like sort of the victims, if you like, it felt very much to me like a Final Destination film.
Yeah, I know what you mean, yeah.
And what I mean by that is like with the family themselves, it felt more like death was after them, and it was like this sort of idea of, okay, so death's coming for me in whatever form that takes. In this sense, it's this PT, but death's coming for me, and I can't. Nothing I do, it will help me avoid it.
Yeah.
And so I thought, oh, actually, that's quite an interesting side of like not just focusing on the sort of the attacker, but focusing on the victim side of things as well. And I thought that was actually a really interesting vibe to take, which kind of freshened it up for me.
Yeah, it had this like kind of, it's this kind of science versus sort of magic kind of story where like all the illnesses and the stuff that they get are all stuff that modern medicine has sort of done away with, and like we don't see those on a regular basis because they constantly are talking about how you don't see this, especially not in California. Yet these people are getting these illnesses and there's no way they can stop it. So it is. Yeah, I see what you mean, like that kind of like Final Destination kind of thing for it. But yeah, I did like that there are all these old kind of illnesses that you would never heard of as well. So I mean, talking of that, we get to the autopsy, and Scully basically mentions that Irvin, the guy who hung himself, he actually had this. It's a prion disease. It's called Kuru, which they mention is what people in tribes get from like when they eat. Well, they mention brains, I think.
Yeah, cannibalism, basically.
Cannibalism, yeah. And they said it's just unseen in America. So this is probably what's happened, that he's got this disease that's basically sent him mad, and this is what's happened. But Mulder thinks that because of how strange this disease is, that it's actually being targeted to their family. And he thinks that with the gravesand and all this stuff, that there was actually a hex put on him to make him have this disease. We cut back and we see the Wider's family again, and Mrs. Wider notices that the family photo is missing from their sort of portraits, and goes to show her husband, who doesn't seem that fussed by it. He just thinks, oh, maybe the police took it. And we see this guy again, Oral Petey, and he's basically taken this picture so he can get the faces from their picture. we see him outside, and he has another one of these poppets. I don't think we see who he puts inside this one, but we basically see the what happens after this. We see Mrs. Wider sort of collapse to the floor after they find this another pile of this grave sand in her bed. And as they flip her over, her skin starts getting these like sort of lesions and stuff on them.
Yeah.
As he's sort of outside by the pool. I thought at this point, and I mean this will come back to bite me, I thought it was something to do with the temperature of the pool or something. I thought she was like boiling her or something like that, and that's what the lesions were.
I think that's the idea. I think the idea is again, I could be wrong, but I thought I got the same impression of you, where the idea is he was holding her over steam and it was boiling her body, and then the body does something like you said, like an old disease or sciencey to make whatever's happening to the doll happen to her.
Yeah.
I got the same thing, which again, it was another reason why it reminded me of Final Destination, because it very much felt like, from the story point of view, what creative ways can these characters die as well?
Yeah.
When they flipped her over, and it's not the first time, it's not the last time this is going to happen in this episode, and you see what's happened to her, it's horrific. It's really brutal to see.
Yeah, this episode has some really, really harsh deaths. Like, I mean, every death is harsh, I suppose, but these are quite traumatic, sort of things to happen to people.
The MRI machine coming up is that shocked me. I don't know why it shocked me so much, but it did.
I thought it was pretty hardcore for X-Files.
Yeah.
As soon as I saw him messing with the microwave, I was like, no way, they're not going to do this. But yeah, we'll come to that. So then the next day, or later on in the day, I guess, we see them at the hospital. Mrs. Wider's stable, but it's still got all these lesions. They mentioned she has something called diffuse cutaneous leishmaniasis, which is the best attempt I'm going to get at pronouncing that. Which Scully basically mentions is unheard of in the first world. Like, this is just not something that happens here.
Yeah.
And Mulder again thinks at this point they're being cursed by someone, and he tells his theory to the doctor. He says that they're being targeted by this, and the doctor is just like, that's bullshit. Like, there's how is that scientific that somebody could target us with these things? Which I thought was interesting, because we see somebody who was probably a lot like Scully was in early series, you know what I mean? Like, was so against this idea of anything other than what can be explained.
Yeah, and don't forget, he's doctor of the world. He's like the best doctor in the world.
He is.
So, if he doesn't, he would have seen it. He would have seen this if this was possible.
Yeah. And he has to explain it. But yeah, so he's not having any of this and just storms off. Again, showing Mulder's complete lack of tact when he deals with anyone who's skeptical of anything. Just like, no, it's magic. We see the doctor looking at these brain scans of, I assume, his wife, but we then see Petey appear in the background, and he basically says that he's done this, but he won't tell him why. He sort of alludes to something that he's done, but doesn't tell him exactly what it is. And yeah, we kind of get this sense now that he's targeting his family for some reason.
We also get a bit of an indication that this Petey guy's a bit of an idiot as well.
Yeah.
Like he struggles to sort of construct sentences. He obviously can't spell, and so it's a strange one, because you kind of sympathise with him, sort of. But also, I think the idea behind making this character like he is sort of to say, obviously it was the right thing to do for that doctor. Do you know what I mean? But then again, maybe, again, like Scully, jumping ahead of ourselves again, but like Scully says, maybe it wasn't. I don't know, but it does sort of add to that sort of magic versus science thing again, whereas he might not be the sharpest tool in the box, but he might have been able to save his daughter.
It's also this complete juxtaposition between the two of them. You have this city doctor who's clean cut, follows science to to the letter.
Yeah.
And then this guy who's sort of strange looking. He has like this backwards way of speaking. And like, yeah, he's using all these like incantations and like, and yeah, he has a grudge, like this proper like revenge story, you know what I mean? Like, which is, yeah, feels like quite old school, I guess.
Yeah.
And yeah, and also as well, I think again we're jumping ahead, but when we find out his motivations, I think it does sympathize him a bit. Like, you can understand why he's doing what he's doing. He's obviously going the completely wrong way about it, as any villain, like any good villain anyway. He's sort of somebody you can understand their reasoning, but think their execution is incredibly wrong. But yeah, I did think the more we learn about Petey, the more interesting of a character he becomes, and I think this is helped by like his the guy's portrayal. The actor who portrays him is, I did have it written down, Billy Drago. I thought he was really good in this role. Like, he was really creepy and like really like sold the role.
Menacing is the word I used to describe it. It was just every time he's on screen, he captured the camera and he controlled the scene, and it was very good role.
But this sort of what he said to him sort of sets Wider off to try and do some research to try and figure out what he's actually done to cause this. Basically, he starts searching into this guy's. I don't know if they find his last name or anything in that part, but
no, they know the name through him, but they obviously can't find the incident that they're reporting. So he starts searching for Jane Doe cases.
Because he starts searching through those to see if there's anything that he's missed, maybe. And he pulls up 3 files, and one of them seems to link to this. And he also finds a bracelet in the file with the word thief written exactly the same way as it is on the wall. So this is the immediate connection.
Yeah, we don't get any indication of what this bracelet is, do we?
No, I don't
why
know
it
what
would
it
have
is.
the word thief written on it, or whether I wasn't sure about this.
I wasn't sure whether it was something. Yeah, I'm really not sure as to why that. But is the connection.
Yeah, it's a handy thing for him to have on file to link the two.
Exactly. Yeah, you get that obvious sort of connection, but yeah, I couldn't work it out.
It's a smoking gun.
Yeah, basically. Back at we go back to where Petey's staying, and this woman comes back and she's moaning about her back again, and starts asking for some more this medicine he concocted. And as he's gone to get some more, she mentions that his apartment has a bad smell to it, which is sort of the first indication to what's going on inside there.
Yeah, I think doesn't he say stinky is good?
Yeah, stinky is good is what he says. Yeah.
Which is, I think that's a quote to live by.
Yeah. Well, why be clean? Stinky's good.
Stinky's good.
Mulder goes off to find an expert on the occult, and we go to this sort of very cliched looking sort of new age medicine kind of shop, I guess. I don't know really what it is, but basically they get talking to the woman who owns it. And she basically tells them that it's grave sand, grave dirt, what they've got, and explains what it is or what it does. And she also goes into detail on what they can do with it after they basically say that somebody's murdered somebody with this.
Yeah.
And she basically says that to have this much power, they need to have some kind of like energy that's quite close to them, and also make these like puppets and stuff like that, and basically explains what he's been doing, but they make out that he has this strong source of power that's close to him, and they now have to try and figure out what that is.
Yeah, because if you remove that power, or at least separate them, that he's no longer that powerful.
Yeah,
again,
exactly.
Very much a horror trope, this of just having someone come in and explain everything, like the whole storyline explained in this. Literally, like, it's got to be like a 60-second scene.
Yeah, pretty much, yeah, and you get the entire backstory. It kind of is like, do you know, in Final Destination, where they go to meet the guy who works in the doors, it literally does the same thing, doesn't it?
Yeah. This is why, like, for me, there's so many comparisons to it as I was watching. I was like, God, this is very similar.
So then we get this scene. We're at the hospital, and PT is trying to get some popcorn, popping corn, as he calls it, from this like spinning Phoebo machine. I like to call it.
Yeah.
It's like this. I was like, why do we not have these cool vending machines? You know what I mean? Phoebos, for any of you because who may have not been to Amsterdam, they have like these kind of like slot vending machines for like burgers and
it's like a giant fast food vending machine, isn't it?
Yeah, it's brilliant.
It is really good.
But anyway, but yeah, we see him get this sort of popcorn, and he starts talking about the microwave. He starts saying that radiation is God's glow and stuff like that. So again, you can kind of see that he sort of sees even science as this kind of like extension of something mystical. You know what I mean? But it's just a microwave, but to him, it's like something more. And at the same time, we see Mrs. Wider is getting an MRI scan. She's doing much better. So, you know, she's going to be A-okay. They sorted it.
Her wounds are healing and science is working. Yeah. Thank God they had the best doctor in the world by her side.
Yeah. He'll stop anything. And, so they put her through the MRI machine to just get some more scans. And at the same time...
just before you do, they make very clear as she's going in, like, she's like a bit nervous. And he's like, there's barely any radiation. This is completely safe.
Yeah, don't worry. You will not cook like a crisp. Don't worry. And then as the same time as she goes into this MRI, we see Petey now swap his popcorn for a Poppet. And he pops that. I said pop a lot of times in that sentence. He puts that in the microwave and turns the microwave on, and we see Mrs. Wider's or Weirder. I can't remember it's pronounced, but anyway, we see her feet sort of like shaking around as though something's gone wrong. We see malfunction pop up on the screen, and as they pull her out, we see basically every part of her that was in the machine is now charred black. Completely. She's been absolutely incinerated by this machine.
It's this for me. I think what was most shocking about this for me was her feet look burnt. So like I was like, oh, she's burning, and I saw her feet. And I was like, I know what I'm expecting when that we're going to see her burnt body. And then from her feet up, it was just like completely different, like burned to a crisp.
Yeah.
And I was like, I don't know why. I can't, because essentially it's like you could just get like a mannequin and just burn it up, and that's what, and you just put it there. But something about this just felt so hardcore.
Yeah. It's that like I think it's this whole thing of for this episode is this constant like juxtaposition between this nice, brilliant, like salt of the earth family just having really terrible things happen to them.
Yeah.
Like the worst things possible could happen to them. And like this woman like has done nothing wrong and she's now been incinerated alive. You know what I mean? It's absolutely horrendous. So we see this, the family breakdown again, or what's left of the family, I suppose. And we also see that, or we see later on, that the word thief has also been branded into her chest. So Mulder and Scully come to sort of talk to Wider now, and he tells the agents now about PT coming to see him, and he also explains the connection between him and the Jane Doe case. And he explains that basically there was a buzz crash with this Jane Doe, which we later find out is Lynette PT, and she was brought in after a buzz crash. And she was in like a ridiculous amount of pain, and he theorized that there's nothing they could do for her. The only thing he could do now was ease her pain, so he basically just gave her an overdose of morphine, and to try and help her. And as you mentioned later on in the show, Scully says she would have probably done the same thing. It
feels like a humane thing to do,
because
especially with the amount of cases that they had to deal with, and he said, everyone there knew she was going to die. It was just a case of how much pain she was willing to put up with.
Yeah, exactly. Mulder theorizes now that Lynette Petey is actually Oral Petey's daughter, and this is why he's targeting him, because he's essentially stolen his family away from him. And Mulder also thinks, and correctly assumes, that her body is going to be the source of his power. So they go to where she was buried. They exhume the coffin, and after opening it, they find that the body inside is missing. It's an empty coffin.
Which immediately, I think anyone who's watching puts two and two together with the strange smell in the apartments.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, you can see some kind of psycho situation, you know what I mean, like going on.
Definitely.
They mention as well at one point that the only reason that she appears on any records is because she was meant to be inoculated against polio, but he was like adamantly against it and basically stopped her from doing it. So this is like a family that are completely off the grid. They aren't.
Yeah.
They don't have anything to do with sort of like modern medicine or modern systems, I suppose.
Or you could assume like education as well, which might be why he speaks the way he does, because she's not on any school records or anything like that.
Yeah, exactly. Meanwhile, we see this woman who was cleaning earlier. She goes for some more back pain medicine, and just sort of barges away into his apartment. And she thinks he's asleep in the bed, because we see this kind of human figure in the bed. As soon as we saw the bed, we was like, uh-oh, straight away. And she pulls back the duvet, and we see that Lynette's body has been moved to the bed, and it's completely like sort of decomposed in this like sort of horrible sort of state.
Well, we don't see it just here, do we? We just see her shocked face at this point. It's when Mulder pulls back the covers that we see the sort of body. But then obviously Petey comes in and catches her in the act.
Basically, so we don't see what happens to her at this point, but we find out later that she has contracted this. They explain what it is, but it's basically a flesh-eating disease.
Yeah.
I guess it's kind of like the one from, what's it called? Cabin fever? Because they mentioned that's like a rare disease or something like that can happen as well. So, similar kind of thing. Anyway, the weirders are, they basically think that at this point they need to get them away from this guy, because this guy's targeting them. If they can separate him and they don't know where they are, they can keep them safe, basically. But Petey, the sneaky devil, he's watching them. He's watching them from a verge.
Sneaky devil.
He is, yeah. He's sort of watching them and sees them leave, so he's sort of onto them straight away. Knows that they're skipping town. We cut to Mulder, and I don't know if he's like a security guard or a police officer. I'm not sure. I think it's a security guard on his tag, but I'm not 100% sure. They're sort of looking after the house for the waders, and they're watching the news, and there's this story on about this woman being rushed to hospital after having a flesh-eating disease, basically, and they mention in the news that it's unheard of. Again, this disease is just out of nowhere. So Mulder immediately puts two and two together and realizes this is where Pete is staying. Mulder heads over to the apartment and breaks in with the police and finds this body in this sort of advanced, sort of decayed state, but without the head. So we know that he's sort of taken a portable part.
Really grim scenes of this one as well. Like, and the head, when they show the head later, it's just disgusting. It's really horrible.
Grim. One question about this. Where were the police? Like, how did they not find this when the woman got rushed to hospital? You know what I
mean? That's a good point. Maybe she left the house.
I don't know. Like, I imagine she would have got it, fell, like collapsed in the and they'd have probably gone. I don't know. Yeah, maybe there's probably a reason why, but it just seems.
If I was to follow your point, the first thing anyone would do if they found a patient with a flesh-eating virus would be to find out where she lives and quarantine that house.
Yeah, exactly.
So there is really no excuse as to why this wasn't found earlier.
They're like, oh, this guy's he's just not he's asleep and he will not wake up. We need to tell him.
Excuse me, sir. This is quarantine, sir.
But yeah, apparently they don't find this body. But anyway, it didn't really ruin the story. You can kind of see that they just needed to get on with it, I think, at this point. So, Mulder calls up Scully and tells them to watch out because, well, he's going to be on his way to get them, and explains that they found his apartment. We then see Petey outside of the safe house, and Scully sort of trying to look after them. He breaks into Scully's car and sort of collects some hair from Scully's seat, which immediately, bad things are going to happen to Scully.
Yeah, her FBI badge as well in the in the sort of middle pocket of the car.
Yeah, so he can get the picture.
Oh God, straight away.
So sloppy from Scully. Like this is, the hair, fair enough. You can't do anything about the hair, but the badge.
They know as well, don't they? Like that woman told them what they would need.
Yeah,
I'm pretty sure she mentioned a picture. So, like, why wouldn't you take precautions and just sort of not leave pictures of yourself around?
I was going to say he could probably get a picture of Mulder and Scully from the internet, but then again, he's not going to know what the internet is. They could have foiled him.
True. If he doesn't know what a microwave is, he definitely doesn't know what the internet is.
Yeah. They could have stopped him in his tracks here. But anyway, we digress.
Mm-hmm.
He makes this puppet from the hair in the photo, and he puts 2 nails into the doll's eyes. And we see inside Scully gets this like sort of sharp pain, and as she looks up, she's kind of got these like cataracts or like whites over her eyes. So we now know that she's been blinded by this.
Yeah.
We don't know if that's permanent as well. Obviously, we know it's not permanent because I couldn't imagine.
I did think to myself, like, what makes it not permanent? Like, how does this thing work then? If taking something out leaves you completely unharmed, then surely anything that you do to these bodies would completely revert as soon as, like, say for example, you, I don't know, holding it over the steam. Surely putting it out of the steam would be fine. And
because
because she didn't recover
that's the thing. You would assume that if somebody put nails into the eyes of a doll, their eyeballs would be popped or something like that.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, but then again, I don't think they're going to go hardcore for Scully. Like, guess she's got no eyes now for the rest.
Yeah. There's only so many consequences you can really put into these episodes.
What they should have done is just put some like gaffer tape over her eyes or something like that, and she's like, I can't see, and it's
that would make sense.
That's reversible. That's reversible.
Yeah, that would make sense. And then Mulder takes it off, and she has no eyebrows. There's like very small consequences to go into the next few episodes.
Yeah, at least then you'd be like, well, stuff does matter. It's not like,
does matter.
It does matter. When you hear the production notes, you'll be like, oh, I understand why they got these like fast solutions.
Yeah.
So yeah, she's blinded, and Petey breaks into the house. Scully tries to shoot at him, but she can't see anything, so he just takes the gun off her. And this is where he's got a puppet now of Wider, and takes it upstairs, and he sort of is now explaining that he robbed him of the family. But Wider makes a good point. He was like, he's saying that you killed her, but Wider says, well, you weren't there to save her.
Yeah.
And I wonder if this is less revenge and more of this. Yeah, he has guilt as well, like attached to it.
It's just general pain.
Yeah, exactly. Talking of general pain, he stabs this sort of knife into the puppet of Wider, and he sort of like crumples over in this sort of like pain that he's getting his stomach. To be honest, he's getting the lightest out of anybody in these situations. He's done the most to harm him.
Yeah,
and all he's got
slight chest pain.
Oh, my belly hurts. His wife's been cooked. Oh, Jesus. But yeah, so Wider sort of mentions that he's taking out his guilt on him, and we see Mulder arrive, and he finds the doll of Scully, takes the nails out, and miraculously Scully is now can see and doesn't have popped eyeballs, so that's good. Yeah. And as we sort of see this, like sort of what might be the end game for for Petey. Mulder breaks in and shoots Petey. It did say in the notes that Scully shot Petey, but I'm pretty sure she didn't have a gun, so it had to be Mulder.
No, Scully. It is Scully that shoots.
Oh, is it?
Yeah, because
I thought she didn't have a gun because he took it off her.
You see it on the banister. He puts it on the banister and he just leaves it there.
Okay,
she obviously can't see, and he's not expecting her to get her eyesight back.
Do you know what? That's me taking bad notes. That is.
No, yeah, it's Scully that shoots because like Mulder runs in like a second after the shot.
Okay, yeah. Because I saw him gun out, and I thought, oh, he's shot and then run or something like that. But anyway, yeah. But yeah, Scully shoots Petey then, and we basically get the end of the episode. We see Petey's now in a coma, and he's sort of been kept alive by modern medicine, which I thought was the ultimate irony. You know what I mean? Like, I reckon he would probably have something that could cure this, but he can't because he's in a coma because
he's incapacitated himself.
And we find out that Lynette's body has been shipped back home to where they live in West Virginia, and we sort of get this final wrap-up scene with Mulder and Scully where they're talking about Scully says that she would have done the exact same thing as the doctor would have used the morphine, and she says maybe that's not the right thing to do. And they have this kind of like debate over whether modern science is all powerful, you know what I mean? Like,
or if there is alternatives out there that are proved to work, then why shouldn't they be using it?
And that's the end of the episode. It felt like a nice sort of, I say nice, not nice, a neat sort of episode. Everything sort of wrapped up quite well. What did you think of the episode?
A classic monster of the week, wasn't it? I enjoyed it for what it was. I don't think it was breaking any ground, but I don't think it needed to. Honestly, after the last 2 episodes for myself, it was kind of nice just to get back to a normal, what I would call an X-Files episode. This is one of those episodes where if you turned on the TV and like it was on a channel from the night before, you'd immediately go, "Oh, this is X-Files." Like you can just tell it's X-Files. Do you know what I mean? And I feel like they needed one of those. So I actually quite enjoyed this. I don't think it was the best episode in the world, but I don't think it needs to be.
Pretty much my thoughts as well. Yeah, it's a solid episode. It had a really well acted, creepy villain. I thought it had this, like genuine motivation, and I just like this kind of like theme of this like science v magic throughout the episode. Yeah, and to be honest, just this hex stuff was really interesting. Like, because I don't watch that much stuff that has that in, so I was like, oh, it's interesting to me at least. So it was good.
Luke's production notes.
The script for Theef was written by Frank Spotnitz, John Chaban, and Vince Gilligan during the production crew's Christmas break after a previous script was scrapped at the last minute. After mulling over options, the three decided to craft a story about modern medicine versus backyard's supernatural arts. Gilligan later joked that I think I was enlisted for the fact that I'm Southern, and they thought I was the closest thing they had to a hillbilly on the staff. There you go. Didn't know he was Southern?
No, me either. That was Gilligan.
Yeah.
I saw an interview with him the other day. I think it was with regards to Breaking Bad. I can't remember. It was only like I just caught a little bit of it. Completely not the way I imagined him. Just didn't imagine him to be that way at all. I'll have to show you.
Yeah, I'll have to have a look.
It's not really great. It's not really a great anecdote for a podcast because I can't describe it.
Just go and listen to the interview, guys.
Yeah, go listen to the interview. I'm sure everyone already knows, but I just imagined someone completely different to what he's like.
That's the thing, that when you see a picture of somebody, sometimes you get this idea in the head of how they speak, what they're like, and stuff like that. And then you actually like hear them speaking. You're like, that's nothing like what I thought at all.
Especially when you see his work as well. I don't know why, but that gives you a sort of indication of what you're expecting from him. Yeah, not like that at all.
The world's always surprising you. Producer David Amann explained that the inspiration for the episode was the question, what if you have a doctor who is prosperous but has a dark page from his past that comes back to haunt him? Spotnitz later elaborated that the story initially was going to be how do you get rid of something you can't get rid of? However, the writers soon found the storyline difficult to develop, and by Spotnitz's own admission, the story started to evolve into a Cape Fear type of situation.
Yeah, that makes sense.
According to series creator Chris Carter, the episode was very well cast. Actor Billy Drago was cast as Oral Petey, the decision that Carter later called especially lucky.
I thought that casting was inspired, to be honest. And to be honest, everyone in this episode was cast really well. Like, I really enjoyed the guy who played Robert as well. I thought he did exactly what he needed to do. Played that sort of like righteous good guy, basically, but with that dark past. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Having to explain himself.
Yeah, it's an interesting one because it's like it's kind of a dark past, but it's also kind of like that's his job, and what do you do?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. But yeah, there's always going to be when lives are involved. There's always going to be people who disagree, I suppose. So yeah. Kim Manner's film Theef was difficult to shoot because the cast and crew had inadequate time to prepare. He explained it was kind of a rush thing and we got the script very late. We were totally winging it while we were shooting it. In Manner's opinion, the entire episode only came together during the post-production editing. When I looked at the footage, it was like I was looking at somebody else's film, but it cut together real nice, and the end result was that Theef turned out to be a decent little episode. Manners later admitted that the episode was his only credit for the series during which he experienced illness. With Manners out for a day due to his sickness, Robert Bowman took over directing duties for a day.
So that explains some of the quick turnaround decisions.
I think, hearing that they kind of crafted the script after it was another one was scrapped, and then hearing that they kind of got the script late as well, it kind of feels to me like, there's some things where you go, hang on, that don't add up. Then
it makes
that
sense.
kind of they kind of go, don't worry about it. It's fine. And finally, the Cherry Montesanto Metcalf, one of the show's makeup creators, was extremely pleased with Drago's makeup in the episode. She later noted, I remember Billy Drago was awesome. He looked so creepy after the makeup. I'm guessing that's the eye makeup he had.
Maybe. I didn't even know it was makeup, to be honest.
Yeah, I think it was to make his eye look like it was more drooped, I guess, than it was. He looked so creepy after makeup. I just wanted this guy to look super creepy and disturbing to look at, but real enough that you might be scared if you looked out your window at night and saw him standing there. But yeah, I thought he was effective. Like, he was creepy. Like,
yeah, I didn't realize it was makeup, so I suppose that's a credit to the effects department.
Yeah, definitely.
It stinks.
Welcome to the Critic's Files.
I think, going back to what we were saying earlier about this being a solid episode, I think I'm just going to go kind of like a 7. I think a 7's a good score for this.
Yeah. Pretty much what I gave it a 7.5, just because I like the hex nature of it. But that's literally the only reason I gave it a 0.5 extra. But otherwise, it's just a solid episode. It is interesting, but nothing that's like nothing that I'm going to tell people, oh, check out this episode, is amazing.
Yeah,
exactly. Like, if you like X-Files, you'll like this episode. It's solid. Kind of the general sentiment from everybody else. The score from 2,742 IMDb reviews kind of gave in the middle between the two of us. It was a 7.3. So
yeah,
pretty much. Yeah, I feel like we're in the zeitgeist with this one.
Yeah, it feels more like a typical X-Files episode, you know.
Yeah, I think the last two are definitely divisive episodes. Like there's no like middle ground with those, I think. But
yeah.
Anyway, if you want to get in touch with the show, because that's everything really we have to cover on this episode. If you want to get in touch with the show, you can tweet us, email us. All of our contact details are in the episode notes. And we'll be back next week looking at, I've just got to find the episode title. I think it was called enemy, which I'm pretty sure is definitely just another word for enemy. And
Yeah, it's a real mystery what that's going to be.
who knows with X-Files, it can be anything. But yeah, it looks like an enemy, so we'll find out. And you'll be back from your holidays, I suppose. Or I say holiday, it feels more like a journey than a holiday.
Yeah, it's going to feel like a big journey across the US of A. I'm going to have a whale of a time, I think.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I don't know what more to say, to be honest. But I'm going to have some adventures, and I'll tell all the listeners about it when I get back. Yeah.
And you'll be able to regale us with all your tales of trekking across America.
Well, yes, I hope to have a few tales.
We'll summarize it.
Yeah, I'll just keep short.
Well, anyway, I wish for the best from everybody. Well, I'm speaking for our entire fan base here. I'm just going to assume they wish you well.
Well, I hope so.
I mean, if you don't wish Chex well, then let us know. Tweet us. This is the one time I want Jem to tweet into.
Oh, and she wouldn't say that to me.
That I don't wish him well.
No, she wouldn't say that.
But yeah, anyway, enjoy your holidays, and yeah, for everybody else, we'll be back next week for NME.
Bye.